Welcome, guys. Welcome back to the Fit Rich podcast show. Basically, going to dive straight into it today. We've got Mark Castley on the show. He's the CEO of Dubai's biggest luxury property retailer. Today, we're going to talk about performance, how he manages his sort of family, how he manages his team, and how he's a leader to over 120 employees. So, fire away, Mark.
Thank you so
Introduce
much.
yourself.
Yeah.
How you got to Dubai and how they sort of come around being the CEO of the biggest retailer company in sort of Dubai.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. It's a really funny story how I got into where I am now, and I'll give you the condensed version.
Let's do it.
I used to play professional football.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't know that.
And I was a lot worse than I thought I was.
Who did you play for?
I played for Macclesfield, Oldham, Blackpool, so just like the tier one, not the Prem.
Still big, yeah.
But it was okay. I wasn't good enough to make it. I thought I was. And then the natural progression for me was a lot of footballers are in real estate, so I was heavily influenced by it. So I went into real estate and started off as a T-boy.
Okay, How long ago is this?
This is 21 years ago.
21 years ago, okay, yeah.
I was on £45 a week.
Yeah, okay.
And then worked my way up from there.
Course,
there's a lot happened in between then. When the financial crisis hit, lost all my money.
2008, yeah?
Yep, end of 2008, lost all my money, as did everybody else, and decided to move to Dubai.
Right.
So Jamie, she was my girlfriend at the time. I said to her, Jay, what's the plan? So let's go to Dubai. She was like, okay. She's
so what's that? 16 years?
Just under. Yeah. So I'm going to go to Dubai. Let's see what it's all about.
Yeah.
Came over for a month, and well, the rest is history. I started off here right at the bottom.
Yeah.
And worked my way up. It's tough.
Sure. It's a savage industry, isn't it?
It's
everyone
wild.
thinks they're for guys who don't obviously live in Dubai. Like there's the market's gone crazy. There's a retailer on every sort of shop corner, isn't there now?
It's insane.
There's how many retailers are in Dubai?
Well, there's 15,000 agents now.
Oh my, yeah, exactly.
There's about 3,000.
So to work your way up to where you've got to, it takes tremendous work. Yeah.
And I think the point is, because I've been here for a while and I've travelled, I've been to the US, I've lived in Miami, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Montreal, Qatar. I've got a fair bit of real estate. Everything is real estate.
Yeah, okay.
So it's the benefit I have is when somebody has a question, I've probably got the answer because I've been in the situation before. There's not that many different situations you can be in.
Yeah.
Found myself as sales director at luxuryproperty.com.
Right.
Worked my way up to COO.
Oh, so you've been there for 16 odd years?
No, I've been there for 2 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah, started off as a sales director, then COO, and now CEO, which is a very fancy title. Yeah. What that means is there's it's a busy day.
It's a busy day, mate. Putting out fires all day, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. That's okay, though. I enjoy it.
Perfect. That's amazing. So the reason I got you on the podcast, I seen you've had Milet. You've obviously had him on your podcast, which for guys watching this, obviously, if you don't know who Ed Milet is, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
He didn't just attract me. Obviously, I looked at your content, loved what you're doing, love what you're about in terms of you're talking about your team performance and just your demeanor, basically. So I wanted to sort of, obviously, this is a health podcast, right? So I wanted to get into that a little bit, health and performance, right?
Okay, good.
So in terms of how do you see how important it is to have a health and fitness routine? Run me through sort of what you did. When did you sort of start that? Was you at a point, I know you've obviously played football, so you've always been quite conscious of keeping on top of your exercise, right? So how important do you think that is to people professionally?
I think it's so important. And I think what we struggle with in the business world is knowing what's right in terms of health. Yeah. Because your version of healthy is probably different than mine.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's right.
Yeah.
Because the data suggests that anybody could be right.
Yeah.
What I do know is anybody with a health and fitness routine typically is in the right mindset to have a healthy business routine. Perfect. So those who abuse their body, and that's what it is, right?
Like the retailers in Dubai, right? They're always out on the lash, aren't they?
That's it. If you're abusing your
missing
body,
viewings the next morning.
Yeah, but what you can see there is they go hand in hand, right? Yeah. If you've had a heavy night or a heavy weekend, Monday's not a great day.
No.
Now, that's the exact same with your diet.
Yeah.
I'm on the carnivore diet.
You're on the carnivore? Okay,
yeah,
we'll
and I've been on it for a while.
Really?
And I love it.
All right.
So my alarm every morning, I beat it up. Like there's no, it doesn't wake me up. I'm ahead of the alarm. I sleep really well. Like I feel, I don't know if this is a fair way to describe it, but I feel like you can't compete with me. Right. Because I don't feel like we're playing the same sport.
Yeah, it's disadvantage.
And I don't mean that negatively to anybody. No. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
It's just you can't compete with me because I'm not playing the same sport as anyone else because I feel like I'm so switched on.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ahead. I feel like I can do anything. And that's got to be diet.
Yeah. So when you say that, do you mean sort of like waking up over springing the step?
Yeah.
Get into the afternoon where most guys are a bit sluggish.
Yeah.
They get home, put the kids to bed, and they're I want to sit on the fucking sofa.
Yeah.
Are you sort of saying you wake up over springing step, you're full on till you get home, you're with the kids, you're present?
Yeah.
Is that?
And that's what it has to be that. So I can't do morning exercise. I've tried and it's just not suitable for me.
For you, yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's essential. I feel like exercise is essential.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it has to be a specific time. I might be wrong, but that's just for my preference.
That's perfect. Absolutely.
So I get up, I do what I do of a morning. I don't eat breakfast. So I fast until midday. Midday I'll have a ribeye.
Yeah, of course you will.
That's it.
How big is it? Was it
normally the 300 gram.
The 300 gram.
So that's it. Just have that.
Soaked in butter, cooked in butter.
Well, no, just however it come. I order it. It's from like I don't know if I can give them a shameless plug, but there's some great steak places in Dubai, and I get it every single day.
Yeah.
And then at home, I don't eat past 8 p.m. And so
12 to sort of 8.
Yeah, but then I only have one.
Fast.
Yeah, I have one other meal, and that's normally steak.
Right.
What I've found is I can go on. I sprint as well. I look like a right lunatic. But there's a guy called Dr. Sean Omar. If you don't know about him, look him up. He's amazing. Yeah. He's 60 years old. He looks about 25.
That's the guy you had on your podcast.
Yeah. So he's outrageous, right? And he's leading physician on the planet and says that visceral fat is one of the biggest killers, and it's a cause of disease. You can't see it. So obese people and people with visceral fat, the people with visceral fat you can't see, but they're more unhealthy. He said the best way to get rid of it is sprinting. Now I do, and I look like a lunatic, right? But I'm running around my block, racing kids.
Intervals like, what do you do, 30 seconds on and sort of
7 seconds, 10 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds. I do like 4 or 5 of them, and then I'm done. And I make sure I get my 10,000 steps in. And I'm not in, like, to look at with my top off on the beach, I'm not like, I don't look like you. You look amazing, right?
But I might not perform like you.
Well, the thing is, I feel like the best I could feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the worries I have with being in amazing shape is the maintenance around it.
Yeah.
I don't believe I've got the time, and I might be wrong, but I don't believe I'll, let me rephrase. I don't believe I'll prioritize the time to stay in that shape over seeing my daughter.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I've got to go to the gym to look this certain way, instead of looking a certain way, I try and feel a certain way.
Right.
And I feel great.
Yeah.
Right. I feel on top of the world. I feel healthy. I feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
And
are you? Sorry to interrupt. Are you doing any sort of strength training with that at all, or is it just weights? You're doing weights?
Yeah.
How often do you do that?
I try and do it twice a week.
Twice. That's at home. Remember we
at
spoke
home.
about
you're doing it at home.
Got to set up at home.
Yeah. And I did go to the gym, and I love it. I'm not. So I try and look at how I run KPIs for the business quite a lot. So I run KPIs for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I put myself in a position where I'm using my time the best I possibly can?
Right.
So I don't drive. I have a driver. And that's for no other reason.
I get Uber, by the way, as well.
Yeah, well, it's the best. It's the best way.
On here, I was actually researching you and just finding out more information.
Exactly. But you see, that's not possible when you're driving a car, and you don't want to be driving a car here. It's horrendous. So the time it takes me to go from my house to the gym, I feel like I'm wasting a lot of time. Yeah. It's probably about 45 minutes.
Yeah. Especially in Dubai now. Yeah.
So I just think, what's the point? I do it at home.
Yeah.
And I get what I need to get done. Now, I believe on the back of that, I'm adding years to my life. Like, I want to live to 200. Like, I know
Yeah.
that sounds wild, and it is wild, but like,
Yeah.
that's what I want.
Yeah.
So
Longevity.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do the best you can to stay alive as long as you possibly can.
I know. You hit the nail on the head there, because everyone has different perspectives, right? And when you touch on the sort of visceral fat, see, when you get to about 60, how old are you now?
37.
Still really young. So when you get to about 60, you can actually lose up to 25% of your skeletal muscle mass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
And not having that, obviously, you get lower testosterone.
That's right. You posted about this yesterday.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You can get Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
You know, brittle bone disease.
Yeah.
So basically, muscle is the fountain of youth. It's the
Yeah.
organ to longevity. So this is why it's so important. For example, imagine, I spoke to this earlier about this. Imagine if we got your top 10 retailers.
Yeah.
Most of them probably brunch, don't they? They're like going out. You probably got a little bit of a gut on them.
Yeah.
Most of them. Yeah.
Not naming any names.
Not calling anyone out.
Yeah, you know who you are.
For example, if you said, right, boys, you're not been performing as up to standards.
Yep.
I'm gonna go and send you to a coach who's gonna sort your nutrition out, your morning routine, your night routine, 'cause that's very important.
Yep.
Okay. Your training, time management, okay? And we're gonna do this for 90 days. After those 90 days, do you think those guys, their KPIs, do you reckon their ROI would be a lot higher after that 90 days?
It's a 100% yes, because it's not actually the work you're doing with them. That's just the contributing factor to their mindset. So, you know, the gym doesn't result in people making more money. It's the mindset to do the gym.
Exactly, mate.
Will give you the same mindset to do what needs to be done.
Exactly.
I talk a lot to people and I say, I don't believe in hard work. Like, people get really angry with me over it, and I don't care, because hard work does not result in life-changing money.
Right.
And that's what I'm about. I'm about making, this is Fit Rich. I'm about making people rich.
Yeah.
That's what all I care about. Everyone in my
less
company.
work, more money sort of thing.
And what you find is, if you were paid in accordance to how hard you work, nurses would be the highest paid people on the planet.
Exactly.
So it can't be
firemen and all that sort of
police,
stuff.
The armed forces.
Yeah.
So if you look at the armed forces, it's a tough job.
Yeah.
I believe it's probably the toughest job on the planet. They're not the highest paid.
No.
So that's not the right comparable.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's, with me, what I teach people is, look, it's really simple. There are specific tasks that you need to do.
Right.
And for you to have the mindset to get them done, now they're hard to do, but it's not hard work. So I say it's doing the hard work, not hard work. Yeah. So here's an example in real estate. I won't bore you with real estate stuff.
No, it's good. It's good because it's a great example, because it's a big industry and it's pretty much the same for all industries, basically.
Well, and the mindset's the same. So, you know, the hard things to do are calling and having conversations that you don't want to have. So if a seller's overpriced, nobody wants to call them and have that chat.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to call them and have that chat spread out over a 10-day period where you're providing logic, reason, reports, and stats and data.
So you got to do the shit, basically, to get the rewards. Like what Mike Tyson says, do the stuff you hate, but learn to love it, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, that's the point. Now, if I send somebody to you at 6 a.m. and I say, right, look, there's 10 of them there. Make them do something horrendous for the next 30 minutes. They haven't had a day's work that's hard. They've had a tough 30 minutes. They're more likely, or 45 minutes, I don't know what the time is, but they're more likely then, when I say to them, look, we've got 45 minutes here to call all of these sellers and get this bit of work done. They're like, yeah, okay. You know, the mindset is totally different because they've already done something to a similar type of challenge.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're easy on yourself, you'll probably be easy on the jobs that you do. And I use must do, should do, and can do activities. You must do these activities to be successful. Right. But not a lot of people do them.
Right. Yeah.
So they'll do the should do stuff.
Yeah.
You should do
comfortable
this
stuff.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, we all do, don't we? I fall into that regime a lot as well. You know.
Well, you know what it is, right? And this is a phrase I really like: is don't be surprised at the outcome. What I mean by that is, I'm never surprised, ever, because I expect everything that happens because I've done the work for it to happen.
Yeah, teed it up.
But if you're fat, don't be shocked. Like, don't be surprised if you're fat.
Yeah, it's not your genetics. It's not you got more time. It's not the kids. It's not your wife. It's not your job.
No, it's not. You're right. Don't be surprised if you don't have money. Don't be surprised if you don't transact. And don't be surprised at anything. Unless you're doing things that result in a positive outcome, you will not get that positive outcome.
Absolutely.
And it's insane, because if you find people play the blame game, oh, this is because of this, this is because of this. Yeah, I hate that, honestly.
I deal with hundreds of guys, obviously good ones, bad ones, but
yeah. And that's what people do. You know why? It's easy to do that.
Yeah.
And it really is. What you've got to do is take a look at what can you do to get the outcome that you want. And typically it's not hard work. It's doing the hard work, and they're totally different.
Yeah, massively, yeah. Because what you touched on there, it's discipline, right? And guys, we speak to like hundreds of guys, and they will say, some say, oh, I'm okay. I don't really need to lose weight. I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. But also, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So if you've been fat, lazy, weak and feeble and frail for 15 years and you're not performing, you're going to think that's quite normal.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what you don't know. Now, what I say to people with the gym, it's not about going to the gym and getting a six pack. Like perfectly what you said at the start. You're not even worried about it, which doesn't matter. You're performing up here when people with six packs probably still perform down there. So that proves that doesn't quite matter. So what I say is, hey, look, it's not about getting a six pack, right? The discipline you put into your, just say I'm going to go to the gym.
Yep.
I'm going to eat that instead of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting the time in my schedule, I'm going to do this. That discipline you're putting into your fitness, that discipline will go down to how you manage your kids,
exactly,
how you speak to your wife,
exactly,
your employees, your team, yourself. It gives you self-respect.
Yep.
You need to raise your standards.
That's what it is. It's your standards.
It's standards. It's not about going to the gym and looking great. That's great. We all like vanity, like to look good in our suit and stuff. But that's the sort of byproduct of changing your discipline, your cognitive performance.
Yep.
It's just setting that discipline with one thing. Because if you keep quitting on yourself with your training and stuff, you're going to keep doing it with other things. Well, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to manage this guy. You're just going to sort of, again, faint off of it. And then your kids will start watching you do that.
Yeah.
Okay? Dad's going to start doing this.
Yeah.
Dad, why don't you go? What happened? Are you not going there anymore? Doing that? What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, son, you closed down. Or
No, and that's what it is.
Young kids see that.
Of course they do.
Okay, so I'll give you a prime example. My little daughter, she says to me every day, "You going to the gym today?" Last week I didn't go for 2 days.
Yep.
On the second day, she goes, "Are you not going to exercise today?"
Yeah.
She's only to 3.5.
Yeah.
Right. So she's only 3.5, but she says that. I'm like, shit, I better have 2 days off.
And that's the thing, isn't it? There's two things to realize.
Yeah.
One is your kid is the biggest motivator on the planet.
Massively, yeah.
Because the disappointment that is possible from your child, there's no bigger fear in my life.
Nah.
Like, if I look at Blair and she is in any way disappointed by my performance, that's the biggest driving force you'll ever have.
Yeah.
But when you talk about standards, I talk about this a lot. That's actually something I was talking about with Ed on the podcast.
Yeah.
He said, regardless of anything in life, you always get your standards.
Yeah.
And that's so true. So if you think about your standards right now, what I find in business and in health and everything is you sometimes perform at a level that's above your standards for a period of time.
Right.
And then because you don't raise your standards up to that level, you drop back down. And the drop from above is not back to your standard. It's actually below.
Okay.
That means there's a lot more work required to get back up.
Right.
And here's an example. And I can use real estate analogies because it's easier for me.
Yeah.
If you are working in a specific community and for 1 month, you speak to every single person who owns a house there and they all know who you are, the next month you will sell some houses because they'll use you.
Yeah.
And because you sell some houses, you make some money.
Yeah.
And you're performing above your standards then because you're making more money than you were previously. But the result of the income came from speaking to everybody.
Yeah.
And then the next month you don't speak to everybody in the community and you drop and you don't make any money and you wonder why, because last month you made money.
Yeah.
And it's because your standards aren't at the level of where you need to be.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing that you have to be raising your standards consistently with your ability. So as you get better at something, your standards should increase. You should expect more of yourself.
Yeah.
And when you expect more of yourself, I really like the phrase, because people beat themselves up, right?
Yeah. Massively. Especially ambitious people, don't they? Like,
yeah, they do. And I'm a really fortunate person because I don't give myself a hard time. I never have.
Right.
And I use this phrase, and it's a phrase that I'd like other people, if you listening to this, definitely start. I play a lot of golf.
Right.
And I'm not that good.
Yeah, I play golf, yeah.
I'm all right. Like, I've got, my handicap can be 6 or it can be 66. It depends on what day it is, right? Yeah. But people will take a bad golf shot and give themselves a hard time. Oh, this is terrible, the worst day ever, smash the clubs up.
Yeah, that's the worst thing to do,
Yeah, for me, I just say, that's not like me.
Next hole. So.
Yeah, that's not like me is one of the best phrases you can use in business as well. You know, if something happens and you have a bad month,
okay,
oh, that's not like me. Normally I have a really great month. You know, I'll fix that next month. And that change in communication.
Have you always been like that? Is that something you've sort of trained? Like
well, you know, I've
because it's a very hard thing to have. Because
yeah, you know, the thing is, right? I've not got an ego,
right,
and I can't have an ego because in my house, I rank at the bottom. Right?
All girls.
All girls, right? There's even a boy dog who ranks above me. Like there's just, I've got Jamie, Blair, we have a live-in help, Jenny. I've got Jamie's mum, Steph. I've got a girl dog and a boy dog, and all them rank above me. There's no space for no ego.
Right.
So you've just got to learn to get on with things.
That's good. Okay.
And what you find is when you give yourself a hard time, it changes the course of your next move.
Right.
And if you think about that,
does that come under the thing as always appreciate what you are doing and what you have got rather than what you haven't sort of got? Is that under the sort of
100%
same umbrella, would you say?
Yeah, 100%, because you know, I love the phrase, what's for you won't pass you.
Yeah.
So and I really believe in that. You know, if something's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah, I believe in that.
And it's meant to be based on your actions, regardless of what you believe in. Taking that aside, whatever you do will be you'll get the result of that.
Yeah.
And if you're giving yourself a hard time, you're unlikely to perform at a peak level in work, in health, or with your family.
Yeah.
You know, if you're giving yourself a hard time in the office and you get home, the family know.
Oh, of course.
If you've had a bad day, and you don't drop that at the doorstep, your family know about it.
Yeah.
And that's a spiral.
Yeah.
And great things happen to great people. And if you can be happy all the time, if you can be positive about everything, you find great things happen to you. I said to you before this, I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet. I know I am. Like, I know I am. And I can't quantify it, but I try and be valuable to as many people as possible, and great things happen.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's not luck then, is it? If
it's not. And
that's someone's demeanor and they're going about their day to do that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not luck, right? It's,
well, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? If you can, in business, if you can show value to people, how do you be value? Here's one. I don't know a name, and we laugh at it, me and my wife. There is a health secretary in the UK who's overweight.
I know, I've seen, I know. Well, there's all of them. There's the minister of, there's one in the UK, there's one in all the top countries in the world. They're all morbidly obese.
So I look and I'm like, well, where do you take your advice? I'm not taking it from
It's like going to a homeless retailer, isn't it? Like
so what's the point?
Homeless financial advisor.
Yeah, there's no value there. So, you know, be valuable in a space where you can add value. And I look and I think, well, I'm taking health advice from who? And that's something I think people listening now will probably be in the same position as me.
Yeah.
If you're busy and you run my team's not the biggest, 120 people, but it's a decent size.
Yeah.
How do you find time to research what is healthy? It's tough. I listen to you, so you're in great shape.
Yeah.
And if you rang me and said, Mark, this is the right thing to do, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll take advice from you. And that is how a lot of people take health advice. And I feel like it's insane.
Yeah, well, it's like your industry as well, right? Everyone's saying you should do this and do that. It's like your industry is probably even just as saturated as fitness.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's probably just the same, right? Everyone wants to do it. Everyone's making. How many people are making money? There's people making money. But yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, it's okay. I just think, when taking health advice for me, I'm just taking it from the people that I think are most likely to put me in a position where I'm going to feel amazing.
Yeah.
Like I take supplements, but the supplements I used to take were wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now I take turkey tail mushroom and cordyceps.
Okay.
Feel amazing off them.
Right.
I take turmeric.
My wife tries to get me to take all that. Yeah.
I feel great off it.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to talk about don't be surprised by the outcome. What people often do is they'll start with maybe yourself and say, right, look, let's go. And for week 1, you've got them. And at the end of week 1, they take the top off and they're like, don't look like you at the minute, Rob. So I don't know what I carry this on. I imagine that's a thing.
Yeah.
Because in real estate, people come and they're like, they've seen Selling Sunset or Buying Beverly Hills or all these TV shows. And they're like, why am I selling these types of properties? Why not making the big bucks?
Yeah.
Because it takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of, relationship building, and there's a bit of effort that needs to go in. So don't be surprised at the outcome. And I think that's a really great message to people.
Yeah, it's going on. I use fitness as you do your sort of industry, but it's like when guys get to about week 6.
Yeah.
Right. Our business is all online, by the way. Guys get to about week 6. And this is generally when they don't throw in the towel. They're not as enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Right. After about sort of week 6. But the only reason this is because for your business, I don't know what's the sort of analogy that someone comes into your business, they go hammer and tongs, they do like 100 calls a day, they really rag themselves out and do too much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what guys do when they're trying to get in shape.
Yeah.
Most copy and paste sort of, programs, businesses, they're cut carbs, right? Yeah. I mean, we all need sort of carbs. I know you're carnivore, but you get around that. And they go to the gym 5-7 days a week, do loads of cardio, don't drink, cut all the stuff they like out. So they do that for 4 weeks. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
You're gonna be pissed off, aren't you? And you're not going to do it.
It's like a sugar crash, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you need to start off just by adding small little things, but enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And you've got to go into the mindset, same as your industry, is I'm in this now for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So the actions I take today, can I see myself doing those next year?
Yeah.
If you can't, then it's not going to be very reliable.
And that's the thing, isn't it? So if you look at people who are overweight, they have to take a drastic action to reduce the weight that they might not have to take this time next year when they're in great shape.
Yeah.
But if you're just like me, I always want to be in a bit better shape. I always want to be at peak performance. Yeah. The goal is exactly what you've said. Yeah. You've got to make slight changes that you can maintain, that there's longevity to it. Me going to the gym 5 days a week in the morning is just not an option.
No.
And that's why I try to find alternative ways of being healthy, because everyone wants to be healthy. I want to see my grandkids. Like, that's the goal. I want to see their kids if I can. I want to be the best great granddad ever to have lived, right?
Well, there's two different things. You've got health span and lifespan.
Yeah.
Okay. Lifespan's getting to 85 and, sitting in your chair and, all right, son, dribbling.
Yeah.
Health span is being 85 and I'm walking up mountains with my grandkids.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm trying to knock around a little football.
That's it.
Get a little bit of skiing maybe.
Yeah,
and that's the sort of difference, and that's what you need to sort of set out to do. Just touching on that sort of performance based.
Yeah.
So how would you being a sort of successful CEO?
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of guys listen to this. What sort of methods do you get to put that across to your team, like to how to make them perform better? Do you talk about health, or do you talk about routines, or is it all KPIs and data? How do you sort of do that?
No, I run the KPIs. I don't share too much of it.
Right.
I share the bits they need to know.
Right.
They have access to it all, but they don't care.
Right.
So my agents are, and I say this hand on heart, some of the best people I've ever worked with in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm in a fortunate position where they've bought into me.
Right.
So I've built a avatar of who I am.
Right.
And it's a very accurate, honest avatar. And there's data on this. I think it was MIT did a study that if you look at how humans receive energy, there's different types of energy that you can receive.
Right.
And love is one of the most receptive energies you can give off to somebody.
Mm.
But the most receptive energy, or the most receptive emotion you can show to somebody is authenticity.
Right.
And it's proven, right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So it's 4 times more receptive than love. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is I'm so genuine with all of the team.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a dad. Before anything, I'm a dad and a husband. They should rank next to each other. I'm a dad and a husband, right? That's who I am.
Yeah.
And that's how I live my life. In the office, outside the office, I'm a dad and a husband.
Yeah.
So that same energy of love and authenticity comes out in the office. You know, I'm there and I'm genuine with everyone. I want them all to be successful. With that approach, I was able to, I started a 5 a.m. club, right?
I remember listening to that.
Yeah, so 5 a.m. I said, right, everybody who comes at 5 a.m., I'll buy you all breakfast. Yeah. Expecting like 10 people to show up. Full company.
Oh, wow.
It's literally
100 people?
Yeah, more. So it was 112 in, there was a gym in Alcouz.
Oh, they come to Alcouz, did they?
In the middle. And it was pitch black, right?
Is it?
And we had neon lights.
No way.
And it was a disco and a health. It was a...
Like a circuit sort of thing.
Yeah, a hit session.
Right.
It was wild,
yeah.
Right? And what I realised there is everybody wants to better themselves. And I was at that point where I was like, yeah, you were all in a position where you look to me and say, well, I'll listen to you. So all I care about now is putting them in a position where they can make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
I'm big on health. So I used to have like biscuits in the office and like snacks.
Yeah.
I've stopped it all.
Right.
We have a juicer.
Yeah.
So we have fresh juice in the office.
Yeah.
When we do any type of event, I try and make, we've had sound healing in the office.
Okay.
We've had light healing in the office. We've done meditation.
Right.
We've done yoga.
Yeah.
I do all this type of stuff, not because I want to, and I don't do any Instagram or any promo on it. It's never, there's no selfish benefit. It's for them.
Yeah.
I want them, if they enjoyed yoga,
perform the best.
Yeah, to do it on a regular basis and start performing better.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe health and wellness and diet plays a massive role in success.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? Well, I was talking to Sean about what's the point in retiring? Your chance of heart attack in the first year of retirement is something like 60%.
Is that big?
It's outrageous.
That's crazy, yeah.
And I'll fact check. If that's wrong, it's close.
That probably sounds about right.
Yeah, I've got the fact.
Drop off, don't they?
They do.
Sort of...
Because they just stop doing what they were doing and the body just switches off.
Because it wasn't conditioned or cognitive performance doesn't look after themselves.
What's the point? My goal is really simple. I want to be in the 3 comma club. Like billionaire, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And I will.
Yeah.
Like mark my words, remember this podcast.
Yeah.
And I will. What's the point if you die?
Yeah.
You know what? Like there's what's the point?
Living on the street, isn't you?
It's
really?
just pointless.
Yeah.
They've got to go hand in hand. I like the idea of debt-free and disease-free at the time of retirement.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Being in a position where you can go and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, if you notice now, a lot of these real high performers, I'm talking like Ed Milet.
Yeah.
What's the other guy? The sales guy that you showed me you're going to have on your podcast.
Andy Elliott.
Like these guys, they really take care of themselves.
Yeah, they do.
Don't they? They don't just like pissing around. They're like,
no, they go for it.
This is the first thing they put in their diary.
Yeah.
And that's not a coincidence.
Well, if you think, and that it doesn't have to be go to the gym.
Yeah.
That can be something similar.
Yeah.
So it could be meditate.
Yeah.
I meditate every day.
Do you?
Every single day without fail. But I do it before bed.
Right.
So I fall asleep to rain sounds.
Like white noise sort of.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I'm probably one of the guys who've got the most views on YouTube because we put it on. It's 8 hours and we fall asleep to it.
Oh, it's on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, so I just fall asleep really easy and I meditate.
Okay.
And that's part of my daily routine that I will not let myself down.
That's what I'm going to go into next, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but I'll dive into it. So I was going to ask you, because I'm really curious about this. Is obviously you've got a young family.
Yeah.
How do you, being a CEO? I get a lot of guys say, "Oh, I haven't got time for this. I haven't got time for that." I'm like, I know for a fact you haven't. I know guys that are running multiple businesses, 2, 3 kids, dogs.
Yeah.
They're doing. They're eating good. They're running. They're going to the gym. So how do you manage that? Do you build your work around your family, or do you do it the other way? How do you sort of manage your time around that? I'm just curious. I'd like to ask people.
Great question. So for me, I'm a dad.
Yeah.
So if B's got a netball game or anything, like that's priority.
Right. So you're there. You'd go and watch, sort of thing.
And the only way you can do that is if you're doing everything else that you need to do.
Yeah.
So I don't feel guilty going to one of these netball games ever.
Right.
One, because that's the most
from
important
a time
thing.
perspective? Sort of thing, right.
That's the most important thing in my life is my daughter and my wife. Right. That's it.
Yeah.
So I can't miss that. But if you just like, if it's at 2:00 and at 1:30, you're like, oh crap, I need to go to netball, then you won't do that next week or the week after because you haven't prioritized things properly. And if you get start of every day, I do a to-do list.
Right.
And it's like, here's what I need to do today.
The morning or night before?
Morning. I do it in the morning. It's just easier for me. Sure. So number one thing on my to-do list every day, start my to-do list, tick it off.
Right.
Just because it's a positive start for me. Like, right, I've done that. And then everything else on there, what do I need to finish before going to the netball game? And I make sure I get it done.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't get that done, then I do feel guilty going to the netball game.
Yeah.
So it's all about being strict on yourself.
Yeah, I get you.
And I
get
don't
shit done before the main priority comes. Sort of thing.
And you know, when I talk
makes
about
you work faster and harder.
Yeah, and if you think about the must do, should do, can do.
Yeah.
People spend a lot of time in the should do space, like, oh, I should do this. But for me, I just do the must do. What must I do today for all of my agents to be successful? And then when I get home at 5:00, 6:00, whenever it is, I don't work till 10.
You know,
I'm available, but between 5 and 8, with family.
Yeah,
I do my sprints. I look like a lunatic.
Yeah.
I get back, tuck B in. I'll watch TV with Jamie. We'll throw some Netflix on.
Do you put the sort of phone away, or are you still a little bit?
It's there because
something I find really tough as well.
But the thing is, right? It depends what it's there for.
Yeah.
If it's there for you looking in, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
If it's there for you being available, then it's a great use of time.
Yeah.
If someone needs me, I should be available.
Yeah.
If I'm checking on website stats, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I prioritizing
scrolling through Instagram?
You know, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then I do a bit more work normally between like 10 and 11:30.
When everyone's sort of in
when
bed.
everyone's asleep, yeah.
Right.
And then up in the morning, I normally do a bit of work.
What time do you wake up?
Normally about 5:45. I'll do a bit of work 6 till 7, and then I'm up, and then I'm out. You know, at the office. And I find with that routine, I don't ever feel guilty doing the bits that typically make people feel guilty.
Right.
I feel like I've earned the right to do that.
Yeah. It makes total sense. Because I've had a bit of a transition the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months. So I used to get up at sort of 4.
Yep.
My daughter's 3.5. Recently had a newborn 5 months ago. So I used to get up at 4. I used to work for 2 hours. Do important tasks first. I like to write and stuff like that, you know, work on the business. Then my daughter would sort of get up. But now it's got to the point where I've got the baby.
Yep.
She started to get up a little bit earlier. So if I get up at 4, sometimes I might get an hour or I might get 2 hours. I hate not having that exact time, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. I'm like, I need to know how long I've got so I can plan. So at the moment, I'm going in between. Should I just do my morning work? The kids go to bed at 7:30. I could sit up till
whenever
11, 12, and I know they're going to be in bed, and I've got 4 hours with nothing.
So does it tell you something?
But in the morning, I'm more.
You switch on.
Yeah, so I get my water. I can sit there. I think better because of your testosterone's a lot higher. Perform a lot better.
I don't know what your setup is, but for me, the reason I'm successful is my wife.
Right.
Like I have no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
Because I have her undivided attention and support on everything I do.
Right.
And I also, she keeps me in check, right? If I make a bad decision or I'm about to make a bad decision, she's there for me.
Right.
The reason I'm telling you that is you have to prioritize. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm suggesting.
I'm asking for a bit of advice from the CEO.
There'll never be a time where I don't prioritize Jamie or Blair because when they've got what they need from me, everything else makes sense.
Right.
And if I work 7 till 11, I'm not spending time with my wife.
Right.
We're basically, and that is husband and wife time. You need that.
Yeah.
If you don't have that bit of time, what you'll find is you'll get 10 days deep and be like, I haven't seen you for ages.
Yeah.
We lived together, but when did we last do anything.
Well, it's not so much just seeing. It's different between just seeing and that time. Because obviously, where my kids are young, it's hard to maybe go away for a day or 2 days because it's tough at the start, as you probably know, right? Because you need that just then. I'll maybe go to a hotel, 2 days, sit, talk, bond.
And the thing relax. Is, right? That's it. If you can do that 3 nights a week of an evening for 2 hours, and it goes on your to-do list, it goes in your diary, and you say, "Look, we're going to start a Netflix series that's trash."
Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
We've probably watched them all, and people, there's so many. I see these.
Yeah, I don't watch TV. It's not productive.
Shut up.
Half these people haven't even got kids.
And you know what? If they have, here's the thing: they're the ones that aren't happy.
Yeah.
It's just utter crap. Yeah, don't watch TV. Why?
Yeah.
You getting up at 4 a.m. scares the crap out of me because I just think, well, if you're up at 4 and you don't get what you need done between 4 and 6, stay in bed.
Yeah. And then,
rest your body.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking right now.
No, but that's the truth, isn't it? Because why'd you get up early to get stuff done? Or I get stuff done.
And then you get woke up.
Yeah.
Well, then you get interrupted.
You get interrupted. So for me, it's all about making sure what needs to be done gets done. And for me, if I spend an hour with Jamie, I'll get 3 hours work. Because I'll feel comfortable doing it. I've just wrote a book. It's out today. Shameless plug. I promise you I won't talk about it again.
Yeah.
But I find time to write a book because we've spent time together. If I just got back and wrote a book, what's the point? I don't want to get down too spiritual on you, but what's the point? You're here for a good time, man.
Yeah.
You've married someone. Yeah. Have the best time with them. You've got kids. My daughter will never be 8 again.
Yeah.
She's 8.
Yeah, of course.
At some point, she's 9, and I've missed 8 if I don't make the most of it. I know. And I'll tell you the truth. Right now, I'm on a flight today. Yeah. In about 5 hours because I missed them. Yeah. They went back to the UK, and I've got loads of work done. I feel great, but I miss them, so I've jumped on a plane to go and see them.
Yeah, why not?
And that's what life is for me.
Yeah.
That ethos is the same with my agents. I look at my agents and I'm like, whatever you need from me, you'll get. And I make sure they get enough out of me between 9 to 5 to not be craving me at 8 o'clock.
Not to be calling you. And yeah.
Unless there's a deal where they're like, Mark, can you help me?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So it's people pick the phone up for unnecessary things that they think is work. That's the can do.
Energy sappers sort of thing.
Yeah. And for me, I've realized that when I allocate enough time to family, everything else makes sense.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's good. Really, really good to hear, to be honest. Let's wrap it up on. I saved it till last because obviously I wanted to speak about Ed. I let a little bit. Obviously, you've probably listened to him for years. Yeah. If you guys don't sort of know who he is, just go and see him. You probably have. He's on Instagram, podcast. I've listened to his podcast since sort of day one. I know you had him on your show. Yep. I listened to it. And obviously, by the way, Ed Milet, was he a multi 10, 11 figure?
Yeah.
I know, right?
A couple of 100 million.
Yeah, easily. And he's also about performance standards. And he's very good spiritually as well. And he's very respectful sort of man, isn't he? So you sat with him for maybe 2 hours. Obviously, you maybe still speak to him now.
Yeah.
What traits did you learn off someone like that? Because obviously that's something you probably aspire to as well, right? You want to maybe become someone like Ed.
Of course. So what was really interesting is he articulated a few different parts of an entrepreneur's mindset that we all have.
Right.
But we don't get taught.
Yeah.
But we learn it. And it's such a weird thing to say that. Nobody actively teaches us how to be successful.
Sure.
We find a groove and we all do it differently. But you find yourself in a groove, and then when you speak to somebody else, they're doing similar things, and you're like, oh, it's now quantifiable why you're successful because of the actions.
Their traits and stuff. Yeah.
So for me, mine's pure value. All I care about is being valuable to people. I don't care about how much money I make. I don't care about how much I charge. I don't care about any of that type of stuff. If everybody around me gets value from me, my bank balance reflects that. And that was something he was talking about is,
because you hear all the top guys say that, don't you? But then you sometimes think it's actually sort of true. But they all say the same sort of thing, don't they? Like all the high performers.
It's all
true. Value first. You got to, if you're helping as many people as possible, the more people you help, then your bank balance will reflect that.
It does.
Right.
I can guarantee you it does. And you have to be valuable in anything you do.
Yeah.
And that's something he was talking about. He was like, look, I like the idea of people who are entering the industry copying somebody. And he used a phrase which I love, which was, if you're going to copy someone, copy the right cat. And I love that phrase because, you know, if you're being valuable, it's easy to recruit into because people will copy you. And if they're copying you, you'll probably build a successful team around it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, he was one of the most genuine people. And
yeah, but that's the thing is you're saying value because you can sense that from the way he speaks on his podcast and when you watch his content. Obviously, I asked you and you said the same thing. So it seems like he's the same in real life as in he perceives himself on social media.
He's so genuine, nicest guy, honestly. And he cares about other people's success, which is easy when you're successful. Like it really is. You want everybody else to be successful, but he's genuine. He wants people to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Genuine guy. Yeah. And I think one of the key takeaways from him was you see a lot of noise online. You know, a lot of people say do this, a lot of people say do that. But if you're valuable, you will be successful. It might not be today. Yeah. But the riches from value are there's a lot of longevity to it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Did he sort of touch into any of his sort of little traits and stuff like that? Or
yeah, so some of the stuff we were talking about, I asked him, I said, look, when recruiting, what do you look for? Okay. And the number one thing he looked for when recruiting was someone to be teachable. So will you listen to what I've got to say? And that's my rule at the company. Yeah. Like I don't mind your skill set as long as you'll listen. Because if you listen, you'll learn. And if you learn, that's amazing. Yeah. And that was something that, again, there was a commonality between us where you don't speak about that. Nobody's ever said to me, you have to recruit people who listen to you. Maybe it's online, but I've not seen it. But it's a thing that most entrepreneurs have that, okay, I'm just going to recruit people that will listen to me because I probably know enough to help them be successful. And it was more him reinforcing that you're on the right track, you know. But he was a really interesting guy. Yeah. Really interesting guy. Next time he's in town, I will definitely introduce you.
Yeah, wow, you crushed it with that on your podcast. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. What did he say to you? If you was a stock market, he bought you.
Well, and that's
a big compliment.
It is. And you know what I like about him?
Did you feel motivated after you met him that day? Did you go and set new goals and like think, right, to your wife, we need to do this different? Did you get that sort of
here's the
feeling off him?
She said to me, that's why because she said on your podcast, she said, on your podcast, I want you just having the biggest players. And I was like, yeah, I get that. But like, there's other people. And she was like, no, you're just having the biggest and the best. And I'm like, and she's holding me to my standards there. And I got home and I'm pumped. And she's like, yeah, it's good. Like, I when I messaged, I said, look, I've got Ed Milet on the show. And she was like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, and I was like, yeah. I'm really excited about this. She said, yeah, I expected you to. That's what I told you to do. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you know, this is, for her, she expects it. She's not surprised by the outcome. Yeah. Like my book is the #1 selling real estate book on the planet at the minute.
What's it called?
How to Actually Be a Real Estate Agent. Yeah. I rang her last night and I was like, we've just gone to #1 on the planet. Really? And she was like, yeah. I thought we would. I'm just like, she's never, and that's where I get it from. She's not surprised at success. She's not surprised at the outcome. She's also not surprised when we fail. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, well we got that wrong. Okay. And I love that approach. But yeah, Ed was unbelievable. Like honestly, his mindset, he's so laser focused.
Yeah. How old is he? He's like 56, is he?
Yeah. Looks great for his age.
He does. That all comes down to his habits, his routines, his eating.
Yeah. And he's a family man.
Yeah, he's a big
so he's a family man. His family's #1. His diet's important to him. His routine is important to him. And you can see. Yeah. You know, when you meet people like that, you can see.
Yeah, because I always think that to guys. They always say they haven't got time or anything. Then I think to guys like, even yourself and Ed, like these guys are Gary V. Yeah. They're like running like multiple like companies and people and responsibilities, and they still find time to look after themselves. Like,
what's your priorities? Isn't it? Because if you find time to do other stuff, all you're saying is, I'm just prioritizing this above my health at the moment. And don't be surprised if you die. Like, I know that sounds horrendous, but like, don't be surprised if you're not here at the age of 60 because your priorities were wrong at 37. Like, just, it's okay, but just don't be surprised, like, you know, because it could happen. And it's a great way to look at it, isn't it?
It's a real good way to look at it.
It's harsh, but it's
it's the only way to look at it, really, to be honest. There's no beating around the bush or what if that.
No, it's
just people need to be told how it is nowadays.
Exactly.
How it is. But anyway, I've really appreciated this, Mark. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yep.
Where do you want people to find you? More on your podcast or maybe your book or
wherever you want. Find me on Instagram at Mark Castley. I have a podcast called Podcastly.
I think we should direct people to their Milet one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Shall I get that in the show notes?
I would appreciate that very much. It's a good listen.
Yeah. So obviously we spoke about Ed Milet, guys. I'll get him actually on the show notes and description. But appreciate you liking, and go to the podcast, guys, on Apple and Spotify. Really appreciate if you could drop me a comment. That's all I'm asking for you guys. But appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers, Mark.
Cheers, buddy.